What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 50, Episode 3, the Zach Brown episode. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and I feel like there's no way you can describe this episode except for the Zach Brown episode. Rachel and I were talking before we started the podcast today about the screen time and the confessional time that various players have gotten. And Zach Brown got more confessional time than several players, including players who are still in the game. So, yeah, Zach Brown sure did get a lot of confessionals.
I wish we could have picked Zach Brown in like the bracketology last week because I was like, oh, you would have gotten so many points for all the screen time he gets. You get points for like people fishing. You get that. You get points for people eating on camera. Get points for that. I was like, dang, I wish he could have been picked because he would have gotten so many points.
He would have gotten so many points, but alas, he's not a competitor on the show.
It would be crazy though if they're like, actually, let's have you join the season. Which tribe do you want to be on?
That would have been wild. Like when Chrissy asked him if he wanted to come back to camp with them, he should have been like, "Yeah, sure. I'm a player now."
Yeah, like I feel like sometimes that happens in Big Brother where they like have I guess it's more like a past player that comes back in, but the past player joins the game. Here, he's not a past player, but you could just have the celebrity join the game.
Yeah, I feel like that probably wouldn't work out well, especially considering we have so many players in so little time. Like I know we've said this every week since the start of the show, but I don't understand how they're going to get rid of enough players in time, especially if they do. Well, I guess they didn't, but if they did add Zach Brown, that would have been even wilder because then it's like everything has to be a double elimination.
Once the Mr. Beast purge comes, then like six people will get eliminated, and then Mr. Beast will join the game, and then Mr. Beast will win.
Yeah, Mr. Beast wins everything, and obviously Mr. Beast needs another $1 million.
True. I do feel bad for Zach Brown, though. I feel like he's getting roasted a lot online, and maybe that comes with the territory, and maybe that's why Billie Eilish hasn't posted anything about Survivor, but it feels
Yeah, I feel like it's not Zach Brown's fault though because he's not the one who edited himself. Like, I feel like more people should be upset at the Survivor editors and not necessarily like Zach Brown himself because like he just like did what he was paid to do. It was the editors who chose to focus so much on him.
that's true. I wonder if he was paid or if he just was like, I love this show so much, I want to be on here and I'll do it for free, free cameos.
I feel like they have to pay him at least a little bit, otherwise it gets weird. But who knows?
Yeah, so we started this episode off with the Survivor 50 talent show, which was interesting because we thought last week that the talent show would be part of the Zach Brown reward and you would have to like sing or do a talent for Zach, and then he gets to pick who gets to go onto the reward. But no, it wasn't, which I guess makes more sense.
I mean, I feel like it would have made more sense if it was like somewhat related at all to Zach Brown. I feel like one of the weird things about this episode is just like Zach Brown feels kind of like wedged in there, where I'm like, you could have inserted any random celebrity.
That's true. So maybe the talent show would have fit more. I guess the spearfishing, he's related to that, but that wasn't really part of like the challenge. Maybe you have the challenge be go spearfish, and then whoever wins gets to go hang out with Zach Brown. It would have been fun if they had to do a talent show in front of Zach Brown. Then he picks the person or people team with the best talents overall.
Yeah, I don't know. The Zach Brown fishing segment, I was kind of like, why were you alone for this? Like, it would have been a much more interesting segment to have like people fishing with Zach Brown, and have it be like, wow, I'm fishing next to my favorite country singer, instead of it just being, what it was.
That's what I thought. Like, I thought they would all go out there with like the regular slings and not a massive gun. I thought people would be able to go with him. Like, if Ozzy won, he would go hang out with him, or like Jonathan would go out fishing with him.
Yeah, not what happened.
No. So for the talent show on the orange team, Rick was juggling and Rizzo did a Mickey Mouse impression, which I thought was so funny. Like, I think Sophie talked about it in an interview, but we never heard the impression last season.
Yeah, I I did not enjoy Rizzo's Mickey Mouse impression. I'm sorry, Rizzo.
Why not?
Well, it didn't sound like Mickey Mouse, so there's that.
Really? I thought it sounded pretty good.
Girl, I don't know what you're talking about. It did not sound like Mickey Mouse to me.
Dang, I thought it sounded just like Mickey Mouse.
Get your ears checked.
So that's just Rizzo's. Then we have Jonathan and Charlie. They were fake fighting as their talent. I thought that was also pretty good.
I would have liked for them to actually fight. I want Jonathan to take someone out.
I think Charlie would probably die.
That's true.
I guess preseason we saw Q and Jonathan wrestle. That was in fake fighting.
Yeah. But I feel like Jonathan probably, when wrestling Q, was not actually trying to like wrestle him.
So you want like how I guess YouTube influencers like Jake Paul, they go and wrestle people. You'd want that.
Well, they don't wrestle people, they do boxing.
Okay.
So,
I guess some people do wrestling. I think like Big Brother people maybe, or maybe it's boxing.
well, wrestling is like partially performance art, so it's not actually about like who, at least like WWE stuff, isn't necessarily about like, oh, this person is stronger. A lot of it is about like storylines. So,
So you'd want to see them fight
no, not in the WWE at least.
for boxing then?
Maybe for boxing.
So if you were there, who would you have picked to win the talent show?
Anyone but Rizzo. I feel like I didn't have that strong of a feeling about their various talents, so
Even if you didn't think it sounded like Mickey Mouse?
I guess I had strong feelings about Rizzo's, but that was it. And I feel like I hated you the least or the most is not exactly what you want for winning a talent show.
Yeah, since I thought Rizzo's Mickey Mouse impression was pretty good, I would vote for him as well. So then we also, because Rizzo wins the talent show, we see more about the Rizzo Charlie one-sided beef. I was like, oh, okay, this is very fascinating now that we've heard it over multiple episodes, because now it seems like a real storyline. Last week it felt like, okay, this could be like a fake storyline, but now that it's mentioned again, it seems like one of them is going to get voted out.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely setting up a Charlie downfall of like Charlie is so paranoid about this thing happening again that he's going to end up screwing himself over. Kind of like the way in Stephen Fishback's second season where he was like so focused on getting someone out and then as soon as they were out like he was done. Like we talked before about how people having their white whale on their second time around makes them like singularly focused in a way that isn't helpful in playing a like good game.
I agree. It seems like a lot of the storylines are like people figuring out what they should change or what they shouldn't change from their first, second, third, fourth time out there, and then trying to correct and see, like, okay, what can work differently? What can work better this time? So it is interesting that it does seem now that, especially because Rizzo gets gifted an idol, that it might be very similar to Genevieve versus Aubrey, where the person without the idol might get idled out.
Yeah. I really want to know. I know this is not possible, but it would be really interesting to like wipe people's brains and then have them play Survivor again after a brain wipe and have it be like, oh, um, if you were to wipe your brain and play the game again with the same people, would you make the same decisions? Or if you were to play the game again with different people after a brain wipe, how would that change things? Like, because I feel like sometimes people trying to make up for their past, like I said, is the reason that they end up screwed over. And so I would be very interested in seeing, like, how they would do if they could just forget everything. But obviously, we don't have the technology for that. So.
Maybe someone can work on it and then we can have that. It's like doing Brant Steels in real life.
Now that would be wild.
But it does seem like the Rizzo Charlie beef this episode and last episode was one-sided, or Charlie dislikes Rizzo a lot, but Rizzo doesn't really know this. Next week in the preview, it talks about like Operation Bad Blood, which seems to be like a Taylor Swift reference. So it'll be interesting if that's like one of them doing an operation, like trying to vote the other person out, where Rizzo like jokingly names like getting Charlie out as Bad Blood, or if it's them two like coming together to work together on something, then naming it a Taylor Swift reference. But sort of feel like it's like Rizzo making up that name to like poke fun at Charlie. So then it's like Rizzo will realize something's off between the two of them next time.
I feel like since the title of this episode was kind of like a nod to Mike White, with the title being White Locusts instead of White Lotus, I feel like it could be that the next episode is about getting Charlie out. Though it would be kind of weird for back to back episodes to be kind of like pop culture references like that, and both of those episodes to spoil the winner.
That would be true. So I guess we'll have to see when more information comes out about next week. I did like the Liz I'm pissed mention, and then it cut to Liz's Applebee's meltdown.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I feel like that is one of the most iconic moments of the 40s. So to have someone else bring it up was very, very good.
So good. So it's also wild, speaking of the idol that Rizzo gets gifted, that Genevieve has now found two idols this season, but she actually has zero idols in her possession. And then it seems like she might get blindsided by being voted out with Aubrey's idol, which is just so bad if that happens, where this person can find two idols but actually have zero and then get voted out by someone with an idol.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like the best. I feel like I hope that she doesn't get voted out before any of the Billie Eilish idols have the chance to be played, because I feel like the whole well, I wouldn't say the whole point, but I feel like the interesting mechanism of the Billie Eilish idol is the transfer, and like, do you send it to someone that you actually want to fail instead of sending it to someone that you want to succeed, so that you, as like the giver, can have it in your possession. So I feel like it would be kind of lame if we did not get to see either idol come back to Genevieve.
Yeah, then it's like, okay, you are not rewarded for anything. You find something, you don't even get a reward. It might take the entire season, or the person does not like they use the idol, so you don't get it back. It's like such a small chance that someone would misplay and not play the idol and then get voted out with it. I feel like especially on a returnee player season where people maybe are more in tune with their gut, like, okay, my first time when I got voted out, I realize certain things after the fact, and now I can understand what that, like, weirdness, that feeling was a lot of people talk about after they get voted out, that they're probably less likely to not play an idol on season 50. Like, you might as well just play it, especially because they get gifted. You don't even need to do anything. Like, you just
Yeah.
need your survivor god to come give you idols.
Do you feel like this is better or worse than the beware advantage in terms of like risk reward?
I feel like at least the beware advantage, it's like the person who picks it up has the onus of like doing the thing or they lose their vote or like finding it. Here, it's just like Genevieve has no power, which seems sort of crappy because she's found two of them.
Well, I was thinking back to like the very early beware advantages where it's like you had to wait for someone else to say something at like the immunity challenge because I felt like that was like very sucky also for the person because you had to wait for the other people to find their advantages and say the code phrase. So,
That's true. I wonder how Genevieve feels because especially if she never gets a boomerang idol back to her, like if it never gets boomeranged back, it's gotta suck. And you're like, oh, I wish I had an idol and I found two of them.
wish I had that idol I actually found.
Yeah. I feel like people online were saying, okay, if you find two, maybe the second one should be a normal one and also not a boomerang because it does seem crappy that Genevieve could get voted out and she could have used one of these idols.
Or there should be like some I feel like also having like oh if they don't use it or get voted out in like 5 tribals it boomerangs back to you where it doesn't just boomerang back if someone gets voted out.
Yeah, like a time limit. Because right now, the person that got it thinks it's a regular idol. It lasts till final five.
Yeah, which is lame. I think that they should not do that.
So Genevieve picks Rizzo. I thought is a good pick, you know. She says he trusts me enough that I can blindside him and get the idol back. Which is interesting because they don't know Rizzo. They don't know how he plays or like what he did on season 49. And I just like am excited because it's like, okay, Rizzo didn't get the idol in 49 and he didn't get voted out. If Rizzo can do something similar this time, I'm excited to see what kind of shenanigans he can do with this new idol.
Yeah, I feel like I love shenanigans. So, I think it will be really good to see what happens there. And maybe the idol is a part of Operation Bad Blood. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of chaos he can cause. And maybe it won't get boomeranged back because he'll just hold on to it.
Which I feel like is another like bad part about the boomerang idol, like because it expires at final 5, there's like no reason for them not to play it or not to hold on to it, you know?
Yeah. I think getting an idol is good for Rizzo because he may be on the outs of this tribe, being the only person from his original tribe there. And even though people last week said they wanted to vote Suri out, this week the only people we got are Charlie versus Rizzo. No one's talking about Suri this week.
Again, that woman, she must have some sort of hypnotism because it's still absolutely wild to me that Sari is so well known and like is getting absolutely zero.
He's got the Riz. Siriz.
Uh Cirizgod,
Yeah, Siriz God. They
Sarizgod.
need to team up.
That would be fun.
So we get to the challenge, and Jeff says Q gets voted out. Everyone has such big reactions, and yet we don't hear anyone say anything. I was like, please give us one 30-second confessional of someone saying how sad they are, or like, whoa, that's crazy. Why would they vote out like one of the strongest men on their team? Something like that. I want to hear the reactions.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to harp too much on how much screen time Zach Brown had, but like you gave Zach Brown an awful lot of screen time. I feel like you maybe could have taken 30 seconds of Zach Brown's screen time and given it to Q instead, or reactions to Q.
Yeah, everyone's like face was so shocked. I'm like, why? I want to know.
Yeah. I want to know like how Q being voted out affects other people's strategy. Like, oh, I wanted to work with him. Or like, oh, I'm glad he went out because he was a loose cannon. Like literally anything.
Yeah, or like Charlie and Tiffany, like, oh, okay, is this good that he got voted out, or is this bad because we have the season connection together?
Exactly.
So then we get to Jeff explaining what this reward is, and he is like speaking in code, saying, "Oh, this is, someone that really likes Survivor that we're bringing out here. He's won a lot of awards for country music." D guesses Zach Brown, and then else is like, "Oh, wow!" And then they're like super excited to see a famous person.
I loved how into Zach Brown D was. I feel like if you took everyone on this cast and lined them up for me and was like, pick out the Zach Brown fan, D would not have been my first pick, or my second pick, or my third pick. Like, I just, I guess I don't think a lot about the musical tastes of different survivors, but like, I never would have been like, oh yeah, D, she's a huge Zach Brown fan.
Last week we guessed Colby would recognize Zach Brown, uh, but it seemed like maybe he recognized the name but didn't know any of the songs later. I really wish Dee went on this reward. I wish her team won because it would have been like so much more interesting and fun to see like Dee and Jonathan like bond over this and or like Dee cry more about this. I felt like her crying about the reward was better than the reward, like seeing the regular people that won the reward go on the reward. I was like, I want to hear more about like how this man changed Dee's life. This is so interesting.
I feel like D has had very little screen time this season, and the fact that most of D's screen time has been about Zach Brown. Again, I'm kind of like, that was a choice.
It's like, oh, maybe it'd be funny if it's actually like, oh, she's faking it because if you say this guy is like life changing for you, you would get your confessional aired. And if you want screen time, you would be like, yeah, Applebee's is my favorite sit down restaurant. Like you would just hawk it up for the camera. But this seemed genuine that she actually does really like Zach Brown.
I was gonna say, I feel like you could not fake that level of enthusiasm for Zach Brown. Or at least I could not fake that level of enthusiasm for Zach Brown.
That's why I really wish her team won the reward. And it looked so close. I was like, please. And then they didn't win. And it was so sad. I feel like seeing her interact with Zach Brown would have been so fascinating.
I feel like it would have been awkward for Zach Brown though. Like I feel like interacting with super fans is always a bit like, whoa there. Let's take a step back.
Yeah, then maybe Dee would have invited him back to camp too.
Yeah. D I feel like definitely would have invited him back to camp because she wants to spend as much time with Zach Brown as possible.
Yeah, so we get onto the immunity and reward challenge. You have to swim, move some heavy things, and then do the letter arch at the end of the challenge. It looks like Camilla was riding Jonathan's back during the swimming portion.
I was about to ask if you had seen that because I thought that was so funny. Especially, we have made a lot of jokes in the past couple of episodes, I feel like, about Jonathan like literally carrying his team through challenges, and then to have him prove us right by literally having someone ride his back made my day.
Literally, it is like his original season carrying Omer and Marianne through the water. I was like, wow, it sort of reminds me of like maybe Finding Nemo, whatever kind of like animated animal show where like the animals are riding each other. I don't know. It was sort of
It's like
funny.
in Finding Nemo when they ride
Yeah.
on the turtle's back.
Okay, yes. Then yeah, like literally like that. I was like, oh, this is cute and this is funny.
Yes, I like that a lot. I thought it was very funny.
Although swimming with someone on your back, I guess Jonathan's like so big, but like, and Camilla is smaller. But to me, swimming with people on your back is difficult because you can't get the full range of like kicking motion. So you're going slower.
I mean, I think that Jonathan's slow swimming is probably faster than a lot of people swimming. So I'm not sure that it matters that much, especially because I feel like a lot of times they do doggy paddle on Survivor, and so you're not getting your full range of motion in doggy paddle anyway.
Yeah, I guess if it's like Ozzy and Camilla, I don't think Ozzy would be able, like his kicking motion be really like blocked by Camilla.
Yeah, I think that also, like, Jonathan is, like you said, very physically big, and so I feel like matters less that he like has some of his range of motion blocked.
Have you seen the memes like person versus shark? We need Jonathan versus shark in a swimming race.
I have not seen that,
Uh,
but now I'll have to look it up, I guess, to see if Jonathan would win against a shark. I wonder what it would depend on what kind of shark, I bet. Sorry, we should not go down this rabbit hole because I will go too far. But
slow shark and not a fast shark.
yeah. Well, I learned today that yellowfin tuna can swim up to 40 miles per hour, which is much faster than I would have thought a tuna would be able to swim. So,
That is
everyone
pretty
make of that what you
fast.
will.
I need to go Google what that kind of tuna looks like. And like hippos are very fast in water.
That is true. Um, but Jonathan versus Hippo, I feel like Hippo would win.
I feel like hippo always would win because they're so like ferocious and fast in water and can like chomp you really quick.
That is true. I feel like no one wants to compete against the hippo in the water.
No. So the pink team, though, they're probably wishing they had Q because they didn't really have much big strength muscle compared to the other teams. Like the team that won, Blue, had Joe, Coach, and Colby, which are like big, muscly guys. And then Jonathan on the other team counts as four people. So pink just has like Mike, Stephanie, Ozzy, which are also just like smaller compared to Joe, Coach, Colby, Jonathan. So they're really lacking now in the physical department.
I saw Q post something, I think it was on Instagram, where he was like, I bet they wish they had Q now on like I think it was his Instagram story, like shortly after the episode, and I thought that was funny. Because I feel like people try not to talk as much about like, oh, tribe strength, like literal tribe strength, but it's still a factor. And again, I feel like if they had the double eliminations, it would be double a factor where you really don't want to go home, but again, they seem to not be doing a lot of the double eliminations for some reason.
Maybe soon. But it also seems like Pink doesn't care if they have to keep going back to tribal. We saw at the start of the episode, they say, like, oh, this might make us keep on going back to tribal. We've sort of like brought ourselves to that fact now. And even more so, like voting Mike White out here, it's like, okay, he's like a stronger, bigger guy, especially now with the abs. Maybe that would be helpful in the physical portions of the challenge, especially with Jonathan at the end of the challenge saying how difficult this was multiple times.
Yeah, if Jonathan thinks it's difficult, it must have been super difficult.
So, unless the next few challenges have a like very big puzzle portion on there, this one was like very physical. If they have a lot more very physical challenges without a big puzzle equalizer at the end, then I feel like this team will continue to lose but maybe they are trying to Matt Sing themselves.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you also have to be able to get to the puzzle challenge in order to, actually have the puzzle be the great equalizer. So there's that.
I wrote that in my notes too. I said, you need to be able to get through the obstacle course parts, which they still might not be able to do. So then having Christian and Emily is not that helpful.
Yeah, it is definitely not that helpful.
So Christy and Camilla, they did make it to the puzzle portion and they were the callers again. Good job to them. Same as last week where they were the callers in the hero position for the blindfold challenge. They both did very well here to lead their teams to 1 and 2.
I feel like once you get to the amount of Survivor that both Chrissy and Camilla have experienced, like you kind of know whether or not you're going to be good at the, puzzle portion. So I feel like good for them for also leveraging their like um, skills.
Definitely. So Chrissy leads the blue team to victory and they win the immunity and the reward. Looked like Orange was pretty close with the like stacking arch part of the challenge. And then Pink had to literally crawl out from underneath the net after the challenge ended. I was like, oh, dang, this is really embarrassing and awkward.
Yeah. I will say, on the subject of the puzzle challenge, Dalton Ross on his recap informed me that Zach Brown has a song called Castaway. And I feel like it was really a missed opportunity there for them to like use a Zach Brown song or like have any sort of Zach Brown tie in at all. So, missed opportunity. I don't know who missed that opportunity, but they shouldn't have.
They could have played it on their little boombox stereo like they did at the reward. Because I'm like, with no sound and they have to crawl out from under the net, it's just more terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have played some music to lighten the mood, make it less awkward.
Yeah.
So then we see that for the reward, Zach is going spearfishing and then he'll give you lunch and sing for you. He got a very long confessional throughout this time period. And then we're like, okay, there's like an hour left. What's going to happen? It's a long confessional. He gets a lot of spearfishing. The huge gun. I thought he was going to be spearfishing with like the sling, but no.
No. This is America, and we have to spearfish using huge guns.
So the underwater clips were cool though, like the seeing the fish and seeing him in like the swimming gear and stuff. And then the fish he caught was huge. I also thought he was gonna catch like the little baby ones that like Ozzy and them pick up, but no, this was a massive one that people would put in their like dating profiles.
I wonder if they like made sure that there was a massive fish for Zach Brown to catch. Like, was this fish a government plant?
There are things that are saying that it was faked. Which would make sense though, because you're like, okay, you don't want him to go out there and not catch anything, so you would like plant the fish there, or like maybe he caught it or someone else caught it and then they filmed him like recatching it. But yeah, there's like videos and pictures of people saying that there's like an anchor attached to the fish and it's already dead.
I'm just saying, conspiracy theories. Zach Brown didn't actually catch any fish.
The food did look really good. And then there's also conspiracy theories that he didn't really cook food too, and it's all like taken from somewhere else, which would make sense too, because Zach Brown doesn't have like 10 million hours there, and these people are hungry that they would like bring in the salsa and other random stuff that they brought in. But the food did look really good. I'm like, I would take some.
Would you trust food prepared by like a random celebrity? Because I feel like for me, I know most celebrities don't do their own cooking. Like, there's no way that Zach Brown regularly cooks 5 meals a week or 7 meals a week. So I'm not sure I trust his cooking skills.
So maybe that goes to the point that it was all faked, and this is like food from the grocery store that they just laid out.
Yeah, I subscribe to that conspiracy theory.
So I felt like this was just so awkward because it really did seem like none of these people on the winning team knew who he was. Like you might recognize the name, but you don't really know anything about him. Because when he asked like for song recommendations, no one said anything.
Well, I feel like, to be fair, I would not um would not remember a single song if I was like food and sleep deprived. Where even though I do know several Zach Brown songs, I probably would be like, or I would be terrified that the song that I was thinking of wasn't actually a Zach Brown song. Like last week after we podcasted and I like named some Zach Brown songs, I literally opened a new tab to Google to make sure that I wasn't thinking of a different like person because I was terrified of saying incorrect information on the internet.
Asked like, can you play your most famous stuff? Like we didn't even hear his most famous songs.
Mm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like if it was a big artist that I really liked, I'd be like, okay, please play like this famous song or play this song that I really like. No one had any recommendations. They just said, we're here for the vibes. And then they analogized those songs that they heard to Survivor.
The analogies were hard. I feel like they should just. No. They should have just let it be. Not a
Or he
Zach
should
Brown
have played the
song.
Castaway song.
Yeah.
But I feel like Survivor should do a celebrity season rather than bringing these people in for like, I don't know, cameo spots. Let's have a celebrity season.
That would be fun. Mike White versus Zach Brown versus, like, I don't know, the Applebee's CEO.
Yeah, or even like Australian Survivor, you could do like a shortened 16-day season, but then US Survivor might never go back to 26.
That would be sad.
So, because Christian's team lost the immunity challenge, I feel like this episode sort of gets overshadowed by all the Zach Brown content. But oh, yes, we actually did lose an immunity challenge, so this team needs to go to tribal council.
Yeah. Again, there was a lot of Zach Brown content.
So we see that Mike wants to save Angelina because Angelina's name is out there. Ozzy, we see, wants to work with Mike because they have that LA connection, but Ozzy wants to work with Mike, but vote out Angelina so that Ozzy could be Mike's number one and not Angelina. Get her out of there.
Yeah, you always want to be your number one's number one. You don't want your number one to have a number two.
So yeah, you got to vote out the number two, so or vote out their number one so you can slide into that placement. Mike, because of this, wants to vote out Emily. And then we get to see Mike telling Christian that his relationship with Emily is like his relationship with Gabby, which seemed to strike a chord with Christian. And then Christian realizes, maybe Gabby's not the problem. I think that Mike is the problem because, okay, yes, Gabby did try to vote me out on David versus Goliath, but I didn't get voted out. It was in the next tribal, that I got voted out in a large part based on Mike White's doing.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of interesting that Mike White like accidentally led to his own vote out by trying to make Christian paranoid. But I do think it also kind of feeds into that thing we've been talking about people trying to undo their past mistakes. Where Christian was like, "Oh, it wasn't Gabby who led to my demise. It was Mike White."
And yeah, you can't lose to the same person multiple times. So Christian obviously does not want to vote out Emily. It does seem like, Mike is very, very busy doing all of his things. So it would make sense that Mike wouldn't really know how close Christian and Emily are and that they do like have a real life friendship, potentially, real life connection. But I feel like it was oversight for Mike to try to throw Emily under the bus because just as a viewer, I'd be like, Christian is never voting Emily out. They play Blood on the Clock Tower together. They're not going to vote each other out till merge, at least.
Yeah. Though again, I do wonder how much Mike White knew about that. I feel like he would know that Christian and Gabby still talked, but I don't know whether or not he would know that Christian
Yeah,
and Emily were
whoever
close.
should have, like, you need someone to do, like, ask a super fan to give you like a background check on people, like who knows who's friends with who plays online games with who, and then that would give you like a lowdown on everyone. Because it just does seem like oversight. As a viewer, we know that Christian would not vote out Emily, especially after Emily flubbed him last week.
Yeah. But, he's not omniscient, and if he was, he wouldn't have gotten voted out.
Yeah. So I thought it was also interesting for Stephanie. It's like she was brought into Mike's side of things and also Christian's side of things here. So is this like good timing just because the David versus Goliath people are infighting and they just need a number so they pull Stephanie in? Or is it Stephanie having a good social game that both sides want to bring her in? I think this will be interesting to see because to me right now, I don't really know.
Yeah. I feel like I don't really know either, so hopefully we get more context next week. Question mark, question mark.
Stephanie did say she chose the Christian side of things because she wanted to split up the David versus Goliath trio, but I feel like it doesn't mean that she's like aligned with Christian and Emily. It just seemed like a opportunity that she took.
Yeah, and I feel like wanting to split up that trio, like once they're down to two, they might not be as much of a threat, and so you might not need to stick around.
I agree. I also think that this was bad for Christian because they left Ozzy out. I was like, ooh, this is sort of really bad. And we'll see the repercussions next week. But Mike tells Emily, or Christian tells Emily, and then Emily immediately wants to try to tell Ozzy what Mike is up to. And then Emily tells Ozzy, Mike is turning the vote on me. And then Christian is standing behind Ozzy, making like faces of her to be quiet.
Yeah, I do feel like I understand the impulse to be like, "Oh, Ozzy, we didn't want to make you have to vote against your top person," but also like there should have been a way to get Ozzy that information in a way that he didn't feel blindsided to.
I think they should have brought Ozzy in. I feel like it was bad not to, and now Ozzy's going to be pissed off. Angelina's going to be pissed off, and then Stephanie seems like a free agent. She can go with whoever. I feel like Christian gave up so much like capital in this. He lost a lot.
Yeah, but I also feel like he gained a lot cuz like Mike White was dangerous, and so I feel like I think there's a way he can maneuver out of the tough spot that he put him in, and I feel like Ozzy as a competitor is not as dangerous as Mike White.
Yeah, I feel like maybe you would like try to vote out Angelina because then Mike loses his number one ally. Maybe he could bring in Ozzy. Then Stephanie truly is the middle person because it'd be like Emily and Christian versus Mike and Ozzy, which is dangerous. It depends how well you as Christian think you have Stephanie with you. Because if she only went with the Christian side to vote Mike to just break up the trio, if they break up the trio, vote out Angelina, and Mike is still there, does then Stephanie go with Mike and Ozzy because of like Stephanie and Ozzy's connection to then try to vote out one of Emily or Christian? So that could be dangerous. I feel like now there's just so many things up in the air because you have like Emily and Christian together, but then like easily Ozzy, Stephanie, and Angelina could link up next week and be like, let's vote one of them out. Like we're all pissed off at them.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like the game could be very fluid depending on Stephanie's motivations and depending on where people go.
Yeah, I feel like Christian and Ozzy, maybe some friction. It'll be interesting to see if Emily can apologize to Ozzy and if they would have problems. Maybe you send Stephanie in there and then she could smooth things over. Like, sorry, us three couldn't tell you. And then Ozzy might be less mad because it was a group of people and not just one person.
Yeah, but I'm not sure Stephanie would want to do that because I think she does benefit from there being friction.
Yeah. Because also, it's like, why would you, if people think Angelina is an easy person to beat, you wouldn't vote her out and like waste a vote on her when you could team up with her and then vote Christian or Emily out, who are more dangerous.
Yeah. I also, based on nothing but vibes, want there to be another tribe swap so that like the kind of mess ends up getting pushed down to the merge. Because I like it when people have resentment and then they can't vote each other out immediately and have to wait for the merge.
I agree. It has felt like the Christian show for the first 3 weeks, just because Christian's team has always been going to tribal council, and so he gets so much screen time and like everything is from his point of view, that now it actually feels like Christian might be a pre-merge boot. It's like they're giving him so much screen time because he's gone to every tribal so far and he's gonna get voted out, which is sort of scary.
Yeah. I mean, Zach Brown was also a pre merge boot based on his screen time.
So we got the 3-2-1 vote. Flashy and fun, but I don't think it's good for Christian. I think this makes Christian's target way more big, and now the group is so fractured that I think any one of this group could go home next week, which is dangerous because it's a double tribal.
Yeah, but I do think it makes for more interesting Survivor when things are fractured like this and people don't just take the safe option. But I know a lot of people say that this should be like post-merge gameplay instead of pre-merge gameplay, but also like what can you do when someone is gunning for your number one?
So it'll be very interesting because this team has a lot of drama. We've got two beefs on the other two teams with Genevieve versus Aubrey if they go to tribal, and then Rizzo versus Charlie if they go to tribal. Seems like based on the preview, maybe the Rizzo Charlie thing comes to fruition because of the bad blood operation. And it seems like Christian's team might keep losing unless they get like an easy physical portion and hard puzzle portion next time.
Yeah, but even with a hard puzzle portion, the other teams have good puzzlers. So
That's true.
it would have to be a hard puzzle that the other teams like really couldn't get.
Yeah, that's true. Camilla and Chrissy are killing it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just excited that next time there will be a double tribal.
Yeah, hopefully it's just both teams going to tribal individually. They vote one person out, not like one big combined double tribal where like all 10 people have to vote one person out. Two separate tribals. Let's do that.
Yes, let's do that. I don't like double tribals.
Yeah, no funny business in this tribal council.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. Did you like seeing Zach Brown? Did you not like seeing Zach Brown? Would you have recognized him if you were out on there? Also, do you think that this move from Christian and Emily was a good one or a bad one? Do you think this makes it harder for Christian now moving forward? Let us know in the comments down below.